goals against average. Illinois with Eileen Murphy, Ashley Prell, Leah Trotter, Kendra Pasquale, Ella Karolak, Lillian Lucas, Joanna Verzosa Dolezal, Summer Garrison, Sydney Stevens, Ashley Cathro, and Julia Chili in goal for the Illini as we are underway. Illinois in the blue, Minnesota in the white. And as this one gets started here, Alec, your keys overall for this game, obviously for Minnesota to win, but also looking forward towards the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, so if Minnesota wants to succeed in that postseason realm, they're going to want to tighten up defensively when they're in the attack. They're effective at pressing, but at times they can get a little spread out, and that's where a lot of teams have been able to find goals past this Minnesota back line. So they're going to want to stay disciplined at the back, keep it tight while they're in the attack.
Illinois trying to attack early here. Sydney Stevens along the end line. Lost it momentarily. Ball into the box, cut off by Gabby Cesaroni, the graduate transfer from Wash U in St. Louis, where she was a two-time first-team All-American at the Division III level. And now with Minnesota, she has scored 6 goals this year. And she will be someone to watch out for when Minnesota gets a chance at a corner kick or a free kick near the box. Megan Plashko, senior keeper, made 3 saves on Thursday in the victory over Purdue. Has racked up 6 shutouts this season and 19 for her career. Back on the ball is Cesaroni. And now, Alec, your thoughts on Illinois?
Yeah, so like I said, Illinois would much rather like to win. I would say they do a little better in scrappier affairs than Minnesota. Minnesota, you've brought up the stat pregame. They do not do well in one-goal games that they're not really quite playing at the pace they would like, not able to dictate the game that they would like to. They tend to lose those games, and Illinois can't take advantage of the scrappiness. When things get physical, they do tend to be better. And I'd also like to see Illinois try a few long balls, try to exploit Minnesota being caught so high, and potentially find some alleys in behind the back line.
Minnesota on the offensive side of the field right now. Abby Franson tapping it to the middle of the park for Amelia Brown. And now this is Alana Dressley towards the top of the box. It's knocked out of there by Eileen Murphy, the senior, making her 50th career start and her 62nd overall game. Now the Gophers looking for a cross off the foot of Bowman. And that'll land out of bounds and will give Illinois a goal kick. You looked at Minnesota. They run a 4-4-2 with Beisman and Gray at the top of the offense. And Alec, for Illinois, you've been here for most of the games this season and seen them sort of go from varying alignments as the season has gone on, and a little bit different than what you expected already today. Right.
They've restored the 4-4-3 or 4-3-3 rather shape that they started the season with. They tried 3 at the back in the last couple of games, and in a position when Illinois has realized that their margin of error is slimming, it's been clear that Coach Janet Rayfield has been confident in her players to input different game plans, different formations, and different sets of tactics, and that's culminated into them returning to this formation, but with some new players in positions that we haven't seen them in. Summer Garrison, Lillian Lucas, they haven't gotten too many minutes, certainly not starting minutes, and especially in their positions that they're in right now. And so in a time when you don't have a lot at stake in terms of tournament play, you want to try some experimentation, get some players some experience.
Now you're seeing here on what are goal kicks for Illinois because of the wind, which is really blowing right into the face of Julia Chili. Not attempting a goal kick, just tapping it to Eileen Murphy and trying to break up the field that way. So that's going to be something to deal with if you're Illinois here in the first half, and then assuming that the wind stays in the same direction in the second half, it'll be Megan Plashko's issue. So we're going to have that happen again. So if you're Minnesota, in this instance, it's actually not the worst thing in the world to be giving up goal kicks right now in this first half because of what Illinois can only do with it.
Well, and I think another thing that Minnesota really needs to improve upon is in getting more shots on goal, taking initiative to get those attacks some finishing touches. That's something that Minnesota has struggled with. They've been blunted in their attack. When you have the wind at your back, maybe that gives you the little boost that you need.
Illinois is able to get it over the halfway line for Ashley Prell. Bouncing ball in the midfield, won by Minnesota, Elizabeth Overberg, a sophomore for the Golden Gophers. Now here's Megan Gray, graduate student. 3 assists on the season for Minnesota. Beisman, dispossessed by Summer Garrison. Deflects, though, to Dressley. Minnesota keeping the pressure on. A ball bounced in off the foot of Sophia Bowman, who has 4 goals and 4 assists this year. Junior from Edina, Minnesota.
And as that ball left her foot, you know, you can kind of see the impact the wind is having already. I think Bowman herself may have been caught in 2 minds, whether she was crossing or going for goal. So tacked that on with how much the wind is pushing at the ball right now may have affected the spin on it, and it ended up being a really weird one that Chile ultimately was comfortable with. So as you've already mentioned, and as you're probably seeing with the leaves blow across the field, the wind will be a fascinating factor.
And it's consistently blowing right now. It's
Yeah.
not as if for getting momentary gusts of wind. If we ever get a shot of the flag that's behind the goal that Minnesota keeper Megan Plashko is in, you could tell it's aggressively blowing across the field.
One of the buckets that the students like to drum on is attempting a getaway from the wind. And few things are more Illinoisan than strong, constant wind across the flat geography here.
Now again, for you, those of you watching at home, the wind is blowing left to right across the fields, which again, right in the face of Julia Chile, in goal for the Illini. As this game goes on, we'll talk a bit about how the Big Ten tournament is shaping up. Still a little bit to be decided inside the top 4 as well in the bottom 4. All 8 teams, though, have been decided for the tournament, with Minnesota clinching its spot on Thursday. Michigan State has clinched the #1 spot, of course, winning the Big Ten regular season championship.
The current good news for Minnesota right now, they're gunning for that 7th seed, and with a win here, it would help them vault into the 7th seed. And as of right now, Wisconsin, who currently holds that spot, is down 1-0 to Nebraska early in that fixture. So Nebraska, they're already safely in. They're not too concerned about that, but that's something. I'm not sure if I'm a coach, I inform my players of that, especially if it's just seeding. It's not as big of a deal. So maybe the players will find out afterwards.
Especially in this instance where you're basically going to end up playing a strong team either way when you look at it, if you're Minnesota. Now, you might match up better with a team, possibly, maybe Ohio State or Northwestern or Michigan State, of course. Who knows how it may work out for Minnesota.
I think personally,
look at this ball just hit a wall.
Wow.
Just hit a wall.
That crosses midfield when the winds are still, and instead it's well short of it. But yeah, just going back into matchups, just at the grand scheme of things in the conference, I think I'd much rather not play Michigan State right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the country. They have solidified that #1 spot over the course of the year. They've made national attention. And not to say that Northwestern is a bad team, or it could be Rutgers, it could be multiple different teams, but I think Minnesota, they've built some confidence in their own right recently, and I think they'll come in a lot better with a second-seeded matchup.
Sydney Stevens for Illinois, heading directly towards the box, and now we'll move it off wide, looking for a cross. It's blocked, and this will be a throw near the corner flag for Illinois. 4-4-2 at home at Immersion Park this season for the Illini. 7-7-3 overall. So again, a win will give them an above 500 overall and home record. Also, possibly a 3rd conference win, coming in at 2-5-2. Coming off a 0-0 draw on Thursday at Wisconsin. If they were able to steal 3 points in that game, this game would have been a Big Ten tournament berth on the line potentially for them. Aaliyah Triderer will throw it in, senior from Sacramento. Scored her first career goal this season on a PK not too long ago. Minnesota, before the 2-0 win over Purdue on Thursday a week ago in College Park, beat Maryland 2-1. This ball,
another one.
What is going on?
The ball was blown dead. Eileen Murphy was trying to boot it forward, but it swerved, and it is still rolling backwards all the way to Chile. I mean, wow. I mean, this is truly an Illinois atmosphere if I've ever seen one.
So now a free kick, and let's see what Trotter tries to do against the wind. Keeps it fairly low, looking for the head of Lillian Lucas.
It's actually a well-played ball by Trotter. She got the right spin. It didn't ultimately come off for a sequence of possession, but I talked about the long ball game being a way to go for the Illini, and with this win, that may not be in the cards, at least for the first half for this encounter.
So McKenna Beisman cannot get to it, but once again, it's a goal kick, and Minnesota, knowing the situation, they put 2 players up at the top of the box, knowing that it's just going to be a short little play to Murphy, and Minnesota can really pressure and keep Illinois locked in their defensive side. Jana Rayfield in her 21st year as the Illinois head coach, 26th season overall. Would like to end this season with her 221st win as the Illini head coach. And on the other side, Erin Chastain in her 2nd season at Minnesota. First season last year. Did not qualify for the Big Ten tournament with a 4-6 conference record. Spent 14 seasons as the head coach at DePaul, but obviously a Minnesota institution, 7th in Minnesota program history in points and 8th in goals in her time as a player for the Golden Gophers in the 90s.
And it's incredibly impressive what she's been able to do in such a short amount of time. Even a 2nd season, you still don't know the team extremely well, and players have mentioned it in interviews throughout the year that they've gotten closer over the course of the season, and it's shown in results. And I think that truly makes Minnesota a potential dark horse candidate in the Big Ten tournament. They've grown to have such a great understanding of each other, and they've had some strong results recently, and that stems from having a solid defensive foundation. They still need that reliable striker. Players are starting to find form, and this is a game that can be further opportunity for that, but this is a solid team that Chastain in her short time with the Golden Gophers has put together.
Remember 2 seasons ago in the spring 2021 campaign, it was Iowa that made the surprise run through the Big Ten tournament and won the championship, got to the NCAAs, and actually won a game as well in the NCAA tournament. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for a surprise team near the bottom of the top 8 to make a run. Now, of course, next Sunday, the quarterfinals in the Big Ten tournament will all be hosted by the 1, 2, and 3, and 4 seeds. And then the semifinals and championship will move to Columbus, Ohio, the following Thursday and Sunday. I think it officially is semifinals and championship.
And just to keep you posted for what's going on in the Big Ten, we mentioned the Nebraska-Wisconsin game. It was 1-0 Nebraska. It's now 1-1. Opportunity here, though.
There's a save by Chile, going down into the splits almost and denying McKenna Beisman.
Well, Eileen Murphy was able to apply the physical presence, but ultimately it comes down to Julia Chile. And I beg your pardon, that was actually Karolak that was in defense. But Julia Chile, she's gotten a lot of reps throughout this year, much more expanded role as a goalkeeper. Gets the save there.
Ball still in the box here for Minnesota. Garrison battling near the end line against Sadie Harper. Harper looking to center it, and it'll be a throw for Minnesota. Minnesota was picked to be 9th in the Big Ten this season, so will outperform that prognostication by at least 1 spot. And that'll go off the side, netting out of bounds off the foot of Alana Dressley. But again, Illinois, normally on a goal kick, you have a chance for a full clear, but not going to be the case, at least initially, with the wins.
And not only are they raising pressure on the Illini back line, but whenever Minnesota was in attack just a couple of sequences ago in the box, the Minnesota players had to make decisions quickly because there was a real chance of the ball just rolling back behind the goal line and out for a goal kick.
What's going to be interesting is when and if Minnesota has a corner kick on this side of the field and what will happen, what they would attempt to do.
Normally such a strong corner kicking side. We'll see how much the wind has an effect there.
Yeah, they're 8th in the country, 7.6 corner kicks per game, and that's where Gabby Cesaroni has just excelled. 5 of her 6 goals have been headers this year.
And that's a facet of the game that Minnesota could really profit from in postseason play. When you're so good at something like a set piece, specifically the corner kick, to have advantage in those set piece, you're not in the open play. When you get to dial something up like that, that makes Minnesota definitely a contender.
Bowman, cross with the left foot, keeps it along the grass. Doesn't want to put it airborne because it might fly away. Gray to the top side of the 6, looking for Sadie Harper. In these instances as well, if you're Minnesota, you're apt to taking a few extra chances that you might not in a normal situation, like I said, because you're not too worried about giving up goal kicks.
Well, and they definitely should be doing that. Just going back to how for Minnesota to take it to the next level, they need an offense that's better at firing on all cylinders, because as you're seeing, even without the win, Minnesota is a very effective team pressing up onto the other side of the field, the attacking half of the field, but they just haven't found the player to take advantage of those chances to take the initiative and get a shot off like they would. Like you were saying, Cesaroni, she's the leading goal scorer, and that's coming from a defender who exclusively comes up for set pieces.
We are in the 17th minute. Scott Sudikoff, Alec Gilmore with you. Diversion Park in Champaign on Big Ten Plus. No score between the Golden Gophers and the Fighting Illini in the regular season finale. Minnesota has been credited for 1 shot on goal. We saw the save by Julia Chili a couple of minutes ago on an attempt by McKenna Beisman. Just 1 foul has been whistled. No corner kicks in the game, and it's a beautiful day overall. 75, 76 degrees, barely a cloud in the sky, but the wind moving across the field on your screen right now, left to right at gusts of 25 miles per hour, and really affecting what Illinois can do, especially with balls in the air, as they've hit a wall when they've tried to clear it out, and on goal kicks, they're just having to play it short in the box. Got an offside call on Illinois here.
Yeah, I think they're getting Sydney Stevens on that one. Stevens playing more forward than normally, but Pasquale getting her first touches on the ball and immediately trying to find it forward. Even if they're not going to be the most accurate long balls right now, they're trying to tear through that Minnesota back line that, as we have mentioned, can get spread out whenever they're not on the ball.
Chile will snare that. Chile, the junior from Palmetto Bay, Florida, has played every minute in goal this season. She leads the Big Ten with 5.7 saves per game, which is not necessarily a stat you want to lead a conference in. Just meaning, obviously, she's faced a ton of shots. Yes. I mean, that's the overall point there. 257 shots faced over the first 17 games that she has played, but she doing all she can, almost 6 saves a game.
That's not a type of practice, if you will, that Coach Rayfield necessarily wants her goalkeeper to face, but she's risen up to a lot of those saves, and she really has kept the Illini closer in games that they otherwise would have seen really ugly score lines in, and that's a reality that she'll want to address in the offseason.
Stepping up to it, Dressley, graduate student from Cottage Grove, Minnesota. Did not play last season due to injury, and now this season been able to start in every game. Substitution waiting for Illinois when the moment allows. And Gray's cross blocked out, so we'll see now Minnesota on a corner kick. And what they elect to do, it looks like they want to just go quick short here and attack the box.
Keep eyes on number 12, Cesaroni. She's making her way into the box for the Golden Gophers. Always wreaks havoc on these corner kicks.
This will be Bowman. Will drive it low to the near post, and it skips through and in. It sneaks between the post and Chile and Garrison there at the corner. So straight off the corner, that's a goal for Sophia Bowman.
Well, it's a good idea by Bowman. I think she recognized the situation. Wind has been in the air. Nobody knows how to address it. It's a decently taken corner, and sometimes the best idea is to just put it in the 6-yard box. A lot of bodies back there. You never know where the ball ends up. Bowman plays that very well. And on the other side of it, the Illini just too nervous to really make a decision on that one, and miscommunication, it lets it slip through. But credit to Bowman. She saw her opportunity there, and that makes Minnesota so dangerous. Those set-piece opportunities, Minnesota leads.
5th goal of the season for Bowman, the junior from Medina. Was a second-team All-Big Ten performer last year. And Minnesota on the board in the 20th minute. Looked like Summer Garrison tried to clear it from the post, but whiffed on it, unfortunately, and it goes directly in.
I was going to say, I think Bowman will still get credit for it. I don't think defenders, there was no contact made by any of the defenders there, and redirections would change how that's put down in the scorebook, but yeah, not something that you want if you're the Illini.
Kennedy Burchell checking in for Illinois after that goal was scored for Minnesota.
Just to keep you updated, Northwestern has scored at Ohio State. 2nd seed up for grabs. Northwestern holding up their end to hold on to number 2. Just get another look at the foul there. So as of right now, Minnesota, should they take that 7th seed, would play Northwestern.
Triderer into the box, getting back to her left foot, crosses it. Headed at the top of the box. Good battle by Burchell to win it. And now Illinois able to attack a ball deflected, and Cathro taking a shot off frame.
Good sequence of play there from the Illini. Good response to a goal there, because that's been a question mark throughout this year. And particularly progressive-minded there was Ashley Cathro, just trying to advance the attack with every touch she could make. It's not a bad shot. She gets a little too far under it, though. And it remains 1-0, but bright spot there for the Illini, who haven't really spent that much time in the Gophers half so far. We'll see how far this goal kick goes.
Yeah, so now Plashko is going to be aided by the wind here. Look at that one. Just
that's going all the way box to box.
It's a very tough day to golf. Well, I guess it depends on where you're driving from, where your tee shot is from.
There is the driving range that would be, I guess, right to left. That neighbor's Demersion Park over here on our right side.
Right. Totally forgot. There's a little bit of a golf course right next to us here at the field.
Not sure if today would be a good or a bad day to practice. I guess it depends on your approach.
Triderer forced back into the box. Good pressure by Gray, winning the ball for Minnesota, and a chance for a second tally here, and they have it. 2-0 Minnesota off their pressure in the box there, and tally it for Sadie Harper, her 2nd goal of the season. 2-0 Minnesota.
Harper gets the goal, but that's just a phenomenal sequence overall. Great bit of interplay there from the Golden Gophers. It starts with Gray winning the ball, quickly getting on top of it, swung across, and then ultimately it's Sadie Harper who finds her space, and she takes that space. That is definitely a positive sign for Minnesota. Great attacking sequence, and they deservedly get a 2nd goal.
9th time this year now Minnesota have scored twice in a game. Their prior record this year, 7-0-1. And then conversely, in 1-goal games, 1-goal difference, they're 2-7. So they get out in front, they tend to win. Games stay close. That's where they've had all 7 of their losses.
That's a quick giveaway there from the Illini. It looks like they might just win it back. For what it's worth, by the way, right as Minnesota scored their 2nd goal, Northwestern did the same in Columbus.
A lot of goals early on here in the first 23 minutes or so of every game across the Big Ten.
Well, and for those that are curious, Maryland has scored against Purdue. Not a game with any tournament implications, but, just in case you were curious. Scott, I know you would be curious about Maryland's extent of success.
Illinois football and Maryland football have something in common, both bowl eligible already.
Indeed. Thanks to a victory over the Golden Gophers on the Illini side. Maybe it's a measure of revenge that Minnesota's coming in with.
This is Julia Eichenbaum for the Illini, drawing a foul here.
And just clarifying on seeding once again, it is still 1-1 in Madison, and Minnesota's concerned with that game. They would like Wisconsin to lose that one. Should Wisconsin lose and Minnesota continue their winning ways here, they would move up to that 7th seed. But anything less than that would keep Minnesota at 8.
And it looks as if, in terms of the top 4, there are 5 teams that could end up in the top 4. Of course, Michigan State is number 1 no matter what. And from our best, there's a lot of, let's just say there's a lot of tiebreakers, a lot of scenarios. And the best thing to do is just to wait until these games are over.
Exactly.
And then check out the Big Ten website.
A lot easier to name the
You'll see the matchups. But obviously, for our purposes, we want to speculate a little bit here. Looks like, again, Michigan State number 1. Northwestern or Ohio State would be number 2. Rutgers, Northwestern, or Ohio State could be number 3. And then looks like Penn State or Wisconsin could finish inside the top 4 as well. Of course, that means a home game. Minnesota.
Looks like that's just wide.
Wide, yep. Minnesota here, they're trying to possibly get up to the 7th seed, as that shot was wide by Abby Franson, already up 2-0 here.
Just seen another update, but it's Indiana scoring against Michigan, so another game we probably won't spend as much time.
Does every Big Ten game have a goal in it already?
All but 2 as of right now, including the Rutgers-Michigan State contest. Rutgers gunning for the 2nd seed, which right now Northwestern has full control of with their 2-0 margin in Columbus.
And some may think that Michigan State might want to take a rest and, not get anybody injured or banged up heading into already being the number 1 seed. But you also have to remember that there's NCAA implications on the line, especially in a game like that against a very good Rutgers team. Now, you want to make sure you have the best seeding possible in a couple of weeks when that tournament bracket comes out.
Absolutely. And something else worth noting is, you don't want to cool off players that are in good form. That's something that's hard to quantify. Nice little bunch of leaves gathering across the field right now. You definitely don't want to cool off players. Minnesota's problem right now is they need attackers to warm up. But on the other side, Michigan State have a lot of players playing with a lot of confidence. And if you sit down for too long, get out of game action for an excessive amount of time, that can work against you. So it's an interesting game to play if you're the Spartans.
Free kick for Illinois. Cathro getting it back here. Some pressure from Kaya Harper, who checked in a little while ago, the younger sister of Sadie Harper. And, of course, you also have the Browns on the roster as well. Amelia, who's a freshman, and Izzy, who is a senior, who started her career at North Carolina before transferring to Minnesota. Ball knocked down by Kennedy Burchell. Illinois fighting not only the Gophers, but the wind as well in this first half. So it makes you wonder how things will flip potentially in the second half. Might having to see Minnesota play conservatively in the second half, especially when it comes to the goal kicks and clearance attempts. Kaya Harper winding towards the corner, marked by Ella Karolak, who has started all 18 games this year as a sophomore. After only appearing in 6 games as a freshman, Julia Chili coming out for that.
Immediately taking responsibility for it as well. She did well to maintain her composure, though, to her credit, because you can easily panic once the ball is in and out of your hands. And, Trider also there to aid the touch, get the spin out of the ball. Chili did well to recover after making the mistake. That is something she's had a problem with throughout the year. She's spilled a few shots that she otherwise had full control of, and to her credit, she was able to get back on top of that one there.
Burchell through the middle for Verzosa Dolezal. Overstepping it, Ashley Cathro, making her 63rd career start in her 65th game today. Redshirt senior from Victoria, British Columbia. Sadie Harper trying to softly lay it out wide, but could not connect with her sister Kaya. Bowman reaches it for the Gophers. Went through the legs of Karolak, but Karolak able to win the ball. And this will be an Illinois throw. Minnesota has a substitute waiting to come on. Any moment now, it'll be Krista Van Loon.
Worth noting, by the way, that Penn State has scored against Iowa. Penn State could move as high as seed number 3, and results right now would be rather favorable for that should Penn State get a victory in Iowa City.
Abby Lynch waiting to come on for Illinois here. Comes back to Plaschko. 0.88 goals against average, 746 save percentage. Minnesota ranks 5th in the Big Ten. 15 goals allowed in 17 games, 0.88. As mentioned, Eichenbaum. Now it's Stevens trying to get a step on Cesarone. And they wrestle a bit. And that foul is called on
Looks
Illinois.
like it is on Stevens. And that's actually great defending by Cesarone, because Illinois may have had some danger on that right wing. It was good quick pass play from Eichenbaum and Pasquale, and then Stevens just had to take that extra moment, had to slow down on the ball, and suddenly it was Cesarone that had the advantage in that struggle between the two. She draws the foul and blunts that Illinois attack.
About to enter the 30th minute here. Scott Sudikoff and Alec Gilmore with you. Champaign, Illinois on Big Ten Plus. 76 degrees at game time today, with the wind gusts right in the face of Illinois keeper Julia Chile at 25 miles per hour. It's very much affected the game and what Illinois has been able to do. Minnesota scoring in the 20th minute directly off a corner from Sophia Bowman, as she kept it low towards the near post, and it skipped by both Garrison and the keeper Chile, and inside the post, of course. And then just a few minutes later, in the 23rd minute, after a giveaway in their own defensive third, Sadie Harper ends up tallying her second goal of the season. So that's how Minnesota has this 2-0 advantage.
And I think Minnesota is going to really take a lot of pride in that second goal. That's exactly what they want from their side. That's an ingredient that they've missed in several of their games this year, the closer ones. They strung together a great sequence of interplay off of a mistake at the back, took the space quickly and effectively. Those are the type of goals that Minnesota will need to score to succeed in the postseason.
The Sadie Harper goal was assisted by both Sophia Romine, and then Kaya Harper. Eichenbaum plays it to the open middle portion of the field, but taking it is Cesarone, now using Plaschko, who can drive it out of there, aided by the wind a bit. Here's Bowman on the right flank for Minnesota. She's going to take a shot, and that's what I was talking about earlier. You might have some situations in this game where you take a few extra of those shots, because, again, you're not expecting Illinois to be able to clear the ball very well on the goal kick. And the wind could mess around a bit with that ball in flight towards goal.
It absolutely could. And excuse me, I think in that particular instance, I think Bowman waited just a little bit too long. I could see where her head was at, see if that wind gives you a little bit of an advantage on the shot. I think she waited just a little bit too long there. But Sophia Bowman, such an aware, smart midfielder, saw a half chance there.
Gophers in control on the field in terms of the possession right now, as well as on the scoreboard. Abby Franson, her pass is intercepted. The Golden Gophers clinching the tournament spot on Thursday with a 2-0 shutout win at home over Purdue. And Sophia Romine had both goals, both in the first half, within the first 23 minutes. Plaschko had 3 saves. Free kick coming for Minnesota after the Illinois foul. Tournament starts next Sunday with the teams seeded 1 through 4 hosting, 5 through 8. Heading that out of play was Stevens. This will be a corner now from the other side than what we saw on the Bowman goal.
And I think it's Van Loon to take it.
Van Loon goes short. And now Bowman serves it across the 6 and a header wide as Murphy tangled up with Cesaroni, who was trying to get that 6th header goal of the year. She's got 6 overall. 5 of them have been scored on headers.
And Murphy's complaining to the official just now. I think she was gesturing to her wrist, suggesting maybe Cesaroni was getting an extra grab there. Cesaroni, I mean, part of what's made her so successful is the physical presence she provides. She stands at 5'8", so not particularly tall. It's just she uses her body so well, and she's so aware in those situations. And just there, very nearly scored. And just then, yet another ball that is.
We have a really good vantage point for those balls in the air because you see it in real time hit a wall and then spin back the other way, and the players having to adjust to that.
Well, there was somebody drawing the trajectories of these balls because it's truly unbelievable.
10.5 minutes left to play in the first. Minnesota with goals in the 20th and 23rd minute. Potentially looking for more here. Kaya Harper will take a shot, and it bounces wide of both Chile and the goal. Nice strike, though, by Kaya Harper, the sophomore who has a goal and 3 assists this season.
That was a good take from Harper indeed, and afforded that little bit of space that defenses are generally coached to just hold your shape in that box, and she was sort of in the no man's land gray area, and that's 6 or so yards just outside of the top of the box. And so Harper, she had the confidence to shoot, and it nearly paid off.
Minnesota has gone 2-4-2 on the road. Not too bad for a road record. And again, looking again towards next Sunday, they will be on the road in the Big Ten tournament, either at Michigan State, Northwestern, or Ohio State. That's kind of how we have it to our best knowledge of the possibilities. So you have to wait to make your travel arrangements until about 90 minutes from now. You'll know for sure where Minnesota will end up.
As of right now, it's East Lansing, Michigan State. Although scoreless, they've wrapped up #1, and Wisconsin is drawing Nebraska right now, which would give them the edge over into Minnesota for that 7th seed. So right now it's 8th seeded Minnesota going to East Lansing, but like you said, so much could happen this next hour or so.
with the real-time updates. So for our Minnesota fans tuned in right now, they right now are looking at travel arrangements for East Lansing, and then once Alec updates us that it might have been changed, they'll open up another tab on their computer and figure out those.
Just don't kill the messenger here.
Yeah. Again, this is all, we'll say this is all with 62% certainty. Foul drawn by Triderer against Minnesota with 8:20 left to go in the first half. Goals by Bowman directly off her corner kick for her 5th goal of the year. And then Sadie Harper, her 2nd goal, assisted by both Romine and her sister Kaya. Kaya Harper, that is. Karolak moves it over to the left side of the defense for Illinois. Loose ball in the midfield. Van Loon gets to it.
I think Burchell misread that one. There were some chances for at least Illinois to maintain possession. I think she was expecting another Illini to be closer, but there was way too much space. Golden Gophers jump right back on top of it once again.
Van Loon centers it right onto Bowman's foot. Bowman continues it into the box, deflected by, that was Abby Lynch coming back there to deflect that towards her keeper, Chile.
Inadvertent deflection, though, not a pass. So, of course, Julia Chile is able to comfortably pick that one up, even if it was incredibly accurate thanks to the wind.
Looking back, Minnesota against some top Big Ten teams this year picked up a result at Rutgers a few weeks ago. It's their first result against a top 10 team in 7 seasons.
And they had to equalize twice, which speaks to...
On the road.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a lot of character that you build in that game. That's a lot of adversity that you face. It's such a strong team. That's part of why I think Minnesota can stand up to these big teams in the tournament and potentially make a run. They've really grown together, have such a great understanding of each other, can tighten up defensively when they need to, survive those onslaughts that these top Big Ten teams are so well known for, and then create some chances of their own.
Abby Lynch was making a strong run there, got knocked down, was able to stay with it, but eventually Minnesota's defense cleared it out. Now Eichenbaum for Illinois turns back upfield. Julia Eichenbaum can't split 2 defenders. Megan Gray for Minnesota knocked out, and Illinois will have a corner kick for the first time today. So now from this position, if you put too much air under it, the wind is going to blow it away from the goal.
But you also can't start with the ball going behind the goal line, because even if it's in the air, if it's behind the line, it's going to be blown.
Right, you're not going to try to adjust for the wind.
Exactly.
So thinking here is most likely this one's going to try to be driven low.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, you might want to drive this one
diagonally into the box if you can.
Try to get it quickly as well, and then see if it pinballs in your favor.
It's Triderer. Well, she lofted it towards the penalty spot, takes a bounce off someone's heel, it looks like, and then had spun right to Plashko.
Trider is very good, very confident with that lofted service, and so I guess I can't say I'm too surprised that she went for it anyway. Didn't quite have the pace on it that it normally does, but it almost came off for the Illini.
Good look at the kick by Plashko that goes 3/4 of the field.
Some bad news for Minnesota, by the way, in terms of seeding. Wisconsin has just taken a 2-1 lead, and so Wisconsin will have to score twice, or concede twice, rather, for them to give up the 7th seed. So looks like you can start booking your tickets for East Lansing.
Don't go that far. Don't go that far. Like I said, you know, you can, at this point, wait another 45, not another hour or so, and you'll know for sure. Carrying into the box, Dressley. Alana Dressley making a bid. She does have a goal this season.
Not a bad idea there from Dressley. Going back to a few seconds prior, after we get another look at the shot here, which just goes too far behind. There was a great tackle by Sydney Stevens closer to us on the Illini's right wing, and it was such a strong tackle that I think she may have thought a foul was drawn, but play continued, and good awareness by, I think it was Dressley, who took the ball back and kept moving it forward for Minnesota. That awareness aids the Golden Gophers there. By the way, Scott, your alma mater leads Purdue 2-1.
Thank you. How about Maryland volleyball with that sweep on the road at Purdue last week? That was,
there you go.
That was a benchmark moment for that program. Laura Donovan for Minnesota. Rosa Dolezal got to that ball first. Ricocheting back and forth here. Gray curls it towards the middle, volleyed out by Murphy. Pasquale trying to get to it. Of course, Pasquale leading the Illini this year with 5 goals. 16 in her career. Of course, Illinois having to play this season without McKenna Silber, who you'd slotted in as obviously possibly your top goal scorer. It certainly would have been up there, all things considered. 19 goals over her 67 career games, had 5 last year.
Yeah, it was something that would have been really interesting to see. She worked so well in tandem with Hope Breslin, who has, of course, since been drafted. She worked really well with her, but plenty of individual talent for Silburn, so that was something that was certainly disappointing for this Illini side. It's given the chance for some younger players to get some minutes in. We haven't seen much action from her today or in the last few games, but Sarah Foley, just as a freshman, has gotten some meaningful minutes. And so, you know, you give and you take with those opportunities, making the best of a bad situation. And, you know, that's something else that Illinois will revisit in these long next few months before the next season.
Of course, Illinois started the year 3-0, which included a couple of sweeps and a couple of sweeps. Thinking had volleyball in my brain there for a moment. A couple of shutouts, and then including a win over a top 25 team for the first time in 3 seasons when they won at Butler back in late September. Challenging schedule with Notre Dame on the road. Texas A&M came here to Immersion Park and beat the Fighting Illini 1-0.
And I think something that Illinois, just reflecting back on their season, you know, you mentioned how strong their schedule was over the course of the year and had a good start, but lost several games there. We'll get a look at this chance.
Bowman across. And this will be a corner for Minnesota as Bowman's cross got blocked out by the Illini. Less than a minute to go here in the first half. Van Leeuwen with her left foot will be taking this corner. You see Lynch is guarding against the short pass to Bowman. There's a header cleared off the line by Illinois. I think that was Burchell.
I think it was
who cleared it from the line in the corner there at the post. So Kennedy Burchell with the team save for the Illini, and it could have been 3-0.
Yes, she was in the right place, right time there. Cesaroni does so well at many things on those corner kicks, but especially coming back across goal with those headers. And Burchell, whether or not she was waiting for that or that was just her position, she raises for the occasion.
Couple of seconds left, and it'll be 2-0 Minnesota at halftime on a 20th minute goal by Sophia Bowman, straight in off of a corner kick. And then in the 23rd minute, Sadie Harper for Minnesota. 45 minutes in the books in the regular season. 8-1 shots advantage in the first half for Minnesota. Julia Chile made 3 saves for the Fighting Illini. Minnesota had 3 corners. Illinois had 1. So now the wind is in the face of Minnesota keeper Megan Plashko, and we'll see how this affects the second half, whether or not Illinois can take advantage. You can see right off the bat there, Plashko doesn't care about having a goal kick there. She'd rather actually be able to pick the ball up and roll off where she wants to. See, Illinois is not pressuring up as high as, say, Minnesota did. And see this ball just having to fight through the wind, not able to get to midfield. In the first half, Plashko was clearing that ball well over the halfway line from the box.
And you could see there just in that moment there, Bowman opting to play it backwards. They've ultimately, well, they get it back here. Could have very easily sent that one forward, but between game situation, you're up a couple of goals, not to mention the wind working against you right now. That is probably an approach that we'll see from Minnesota more. A team that likes to press, they'll probably turn it around more.
See, Michaela Woods is starting off here in the second half up top, and now Eileen Murphy has moved up to the top of the formation, something that's been happening as of late. Started the game with the 4-back formation, so she was back at center back, which more traditionally we've seen her at, but now playing up top. Illinois trying to get that header for Murphy, and now we'll see the goal kick from Plashko and see how this will be deployed. And same idea that we saw with Illinois. They will just play it short in the defensive box. Wood's going to go after Plashko a bit. Minnesota now will look to clear it up the left sideline. This ball connects to Beisman. Knocked out of bounds, though, by Triderer. Minnesota will have a throw. Or throws will also be altered a bit with the wind as that sat there dangerous for a moment. It's going to roll and lose steam. Sophia Romine try to Play it down the end line for herself.
And that ball is going to just keep on rolling there. We haven't gotten it off the field yet. Looks like the ball kid will finally get it in line with the opposite Big Ten logo.
Abby Franson will put it back into play. Franson, a junior. Was a three-time first-team All-Minnesota player in her high school days. Ashley Prell ahead for Woods. Woods marked by Cesarone. Ball looking for Murphy, got deflected back, and now Ashley Prell is run over a bit there at midfield, getting the foul call.
Yeah, I have to wonder if Franson's not getting the yellow card there, just not there being much intention. I think there may have just been a collision, Franson trying to recover. I think that's the only reason a yellow card is not produced there, because Prell had a chance to advance the play.
Cathro serves it to the top of the box. Second ball for Minnesota around Amelia Brown. Here's Amelia Brown again. Lays it off wide for Franson. Franson sends it over the top. Beisman at the corner of the box now. Will bring it out. Sliding down, shoots it into the box there. I think she was hoping someone would be able to get on a run there. Sadie Harper was the closest.
Booming clearance by Chile.
This will carry him out.
Just to go back on that previous attacking sequence there where Beisman ultimately couldn't get a ball in. Actually, quick throw in here, so maybe hold that thought.
Woods. Heading towards the corner. Has a little bit of space here for a cross. Bouncing around in the 6, and again, you can see that ball normally might be heading out of the box on that clear, but instead it hangs up in the air, and now a battle at the top of the area, and a foul is called on Illinois' Ashley Prell.
May have to take another look at that one. I think that's a very aware Sophia Bowman at the top of the box, recognizing how dangerous of a position she could be in for the Illinois attack. Looked to me like she went down just a little bit too easily. Prell certainly had a presence, but with another look, I think we may see Bowman not entirely too difficult to bring down. Yeah, she's definitely already falling there, so you can understand the frustration for the Illini there. Bowman very wisely drawing a foul call.
Woods setting something up with Murphy. Murphy against two defenders, though. Bowman coming out with it.
Yeah, Murphy had Pasquale across the field, and this is where those switches of play would be more favorable for you if you're the Illini. And, you know, it's Murphy. She doesn't have a ton of attacking minutes normally as center back, so definitely playing out of position. That pace of the attack is something of an adjustment for her.
Prell can't reach it. And it was offside, so that ball is going to come all the way back upfield for a free kick for Minnesota.
Just to remind everybody that Minnesota fans certainly may or may not be paying attention to the Wisconsin-Nebraska game. The skin in the game there is Wisconsin losing that game and Minnesota continuing to win would mean Minnesota gets the 7th seed, which may not sound that important, but it's the difference between playing Michigan State and Northwestern right now. So as it stands, Wisconsin, because they're winning against Nebraska, have the 7th seed, Minnesota in 8th.
Beisman. Left flank for Dressley. Dressley has Pasquale on her. Comes back for Amelia Brown. Brown's pass intercepted by Triderer. Can't clear it. Went right back to Amelia Brown. To the middle of the field, it is Franson. Ball into the box. Harper trying to track it down. Sadie Harper can't do so as Julia Chile scoops it up. And will be aided by the wind with that launch. Michaela Woods running over Gabby Cesarone, but it's going to be an Illinois throw. Coming from Ashley Prell, redshirt junior from Fox River Grove, Illinois. Started 14 of 18 games this year. That was after only playing 3 games over the first 2 years of her career, as that was headed wide of the post. Plashko will grab it.
Yeah, great work by Woods to try to accelerate the play there, get a quick pass off after her initial quick touch, trying to find her teammate in Stevens there. Good idea there from Woods, substitute coming in, trying to be a bit of a game breaker, potentially make things interesting for the Illini.
He's played all 18 games off the bench this season. Averaging about 35, 36 minutes per outing. And Minnesota, they've clinched their berth in the Big Ten tournament. Whether or not they'll be the 8th seed or the 7th seed, we'll find out for sure in about 45 minutes from now, when everything comes to a close across the Big Ten regular season. Michigan State, the #1 team, that's been sewn up. The regular season champions, #2 seed. Looks as if it could end up being Northwestern or still Ohio State. Trending towards Northwestern right now. Then 3 looks like either Ohio State or Rutgers. And then a couple of teams in play to finish 4th as well. So at top 4, still with some movement to be had. Cathro will take the left-footed corner. It was down in front of Karolak for a moment, sent back into the mixer. Minnesota able to fight this off. But, I mean, again, I know we're harping on it, but that clear by Sadie Harper. I mean, she kept that mere feet off the turf, and it didn't matter. The wind just knocked it down. So that wall of wind is extending a lot lower down to the field than you're used to.
It's like one of those gag gifts, those balls that, you know.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Motor that don't actually move how they're supposed to.
Maybe that's what the ball is today. Maybe it's not the wind.
The 25-mile-per-hour winds are actually figments of our imagination.
Should be a foul of Minnesota on Amelia Brown, and that is the case as Stevens stepped in front and then.
Yeah, that was a bit of an ugly collision there. They're going to take a second, stop the clock here. Burchell and Stevens on the ground. Just a bit of an awkward situation. Stevens goes down, and then Burchell landing on the leg of
looks like
Stevens.
Looks like Burchell got
on her face
the side of the cleat on the side of her face.
So doesn't feel good.
I imagine not.
They haven't brought any trainers out to the field, at least not yet. Burchell is on her feet now.
Referee will probably force her to go to the sideline. I would think just because there was contact to the head, but I guess not.
I would have thought the same thing. Maybe it wasn't forcible contact necessarily to the head. It's a free kick either way from about 8, 9, 10 yards away from midfield. So with the wind at your back, we'll see what Ella Karolak dials up.
With her left foot. Murphy got on the other end of it, but couldn't settle the ball. Sadie Harper now trying to bring out a trouble for Minnesota. This will be a Golden Gopher throw. Substitution for Minnesota as well. Coming on is Lauren Donovan, replacing Amelia Brown. As we're almost through 55 minutes in this one, Minnesota scoring in the 20th minute. Sophia Bowman off a corner kick. Her 5th, and when I say off a corner kick, literally her corner kick for her 5th goal of the year. And then the 22nd minute, Sadie Harper from Sophia Romine and Kaya Harper. And Illinois on the doorstep, and as that ball caromed out, cleared away from a dangerous spot.
Not too sure-handed or sure-footed, I should say, from Dressley, I think it was. Just needed to get a touch there, but between the wind and the uncertainty of the ball movement, you can see there, just fortunate that that does not go more goalward, because that was a gaping net there.
Sydney Stevens was right there. Burchell takes the corner. It's headed by Minnesota. Harper there first for Minnesota, and Trying to get it up the sideline. Romine. You can see how the wind helped out Minnesota for sure the first half. It's now giving Illinois a bit of help for the first 11 minutes of the second half. Pasquale turns, fires, and it's wide.
And that's where the wind is not Illinois' friend. If you get even just a little bit under that ball, that is going to be carried well off frame, as you just saw there.
The same point I made against Minnesota in the first half, that some of these chances you might take a few more towards goal because you're not giving the Gophers in this chance a great ability to clear the ball with the goal kick, because both teams been going short on their goal kicks on this side of the field due to the wind. Donovan working hard for Minnesota, getting tripped up Prell, but it was clean as it was ball first. No, are they bringing it? Are they calling it? What are they calling?
It's not a gesture I'm too familiar with personally. Ref waving players
they
forward.
I wonder if they called offside.
That must be what it is.
The flag, yeah, that's what was called. Offside. The flag was up on, from our vantage point, the far side of the field, near side, for those of you watching at home on Big Ten Plus, which we thank you for doing all season long. Watching Big Ten women's soccer, whether here in Champaign or across the conference. Next Sunday, I believe a couple of games in the first round will be here on Big Ten Plus, but I'm not totally sure about that. No, obviously with 4 quarterfinal games. Substitution. Minnesota before they throw the ball back into play. Slide by Bowman. It's taken in the middle by Stevens. Her pass to Murphy. Intercepted. Now back for Bowman for Minnesota. Megan Gray. Wide on the right side. Bowman met by Karolak. Keeping it along the turf with Franson. Here's Gray. Gray curling one. That's behind the goal. It looked like behind the goal, and then it ends up in front of the end line. This, from our vantage point, it's tougher to tell exactly.
Yeah,
but
like
the wind, yeah, that was.
They have deemed it a.
You had brought this up earlier that, yeah, you can't aim the ball to be out of bounds. Let the wind take it back, because once it goes over the line, whether it's in the air or not, it's out of bounds. That's what happened there.
And so now here's a relatively rare opportunity for a goal kick for the Illini. But before that, we're seeing a couple substitutions being made. It'll be interesting to see the mindset of the Illini. It's the final half an hour of their season, no matter how this game turns out. And so we'll see what players get minutes. We'll see how people line up, if tactics are shifted. I have to imagine Illinois still wants to end with a win, though.
Sarah Foley has come on for the Illini as that one goes all the way down the field for Plashko to pick up. Leah Howard has come on as well, the Gatorade Player of the Year out of New York. Yeah. Here's a cross that ended up out, so
I think that was swinging back in, and then the wind took it away. I think that was cut back across by Stevens, but once again, just in case you weren't aware, it's windy here in Champaign.
Yeah, you can tell from some of our camera shots, first of all, you see everybody's hair blowing in the wind, the leaves across the field, and then some of our cameras on the field. It's very hard to keep those steady.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to see walking out. Just, you mentioned the hair. I don't know if that's going to be a problem for me going back outside once all is said and done with how windy it is.
Have a substitution for Minnesota before the goal kick. Van Loon is in. Gray is out. See Illinois keeping Woods. And I believe Howard. Yep, Howard up top near the box here to pressure. Pasquale going to pressure as well. Right, and if you're Illinois, you don't have much, obviously you don't have anything to lose in this game right now. And I was going to wonder, turn up the pressure even more here. He's got a foul called on Pasquale. And do what you can to end this season on a positive note. And we got a pop-up. Spinning
And
back towards
the wall
goal.
is hit. We're just getting an update here in terms of Big Ten broader tournament implications. Iowa has equalized against Penn State, so Penn State went from the 3rd seed. They crashed all the way back down to the 7th seed after that goal.
If they end up in a draw.
Yes,
right.
if results hold as they are right now, then Penn State loses 4 seeds worth of ground, just to give you an idea of how chaotic this final day is.
I'm trusting your math on this one. That is a huge difference, obviously, to be at home against a 6 seed or to be on the road against a 2 seed. Based off a draw. And now, quote-unquote, goal kick coming here from Megan Plashko.
Goal kick asterisk.
Goes in the book as a goal kick.
We know the true story.
And another ball hits the wind, coming back towards the goal.
It truly is comical to watch. I mean, these are highly experienced players, and even then, you just have no idea where this ball is going to land.
I don't think it matters what level of player you are out there today. You just have to bear with it, basically.
I think football teams are at least happy not to be playing in this kind of weather.
Pasquale against Bowman. Cathro into the back of Sadie Harper. Pasquale towards Woods. Cesaroni stepped in front, lost it to Cathro. Cathro wide for Woods. Players entering the box, left-footed cross. Chance on the other side as the net was open, and looking for the volley was Stevens, but shot it wide.
Yeah, Sydney Stevens gets herself in a dangerous position once again. This is a great ball across, and optional defending, if you will, really, from the Minnesota back line. Stevens in all kinds of space there, and she just left her body too wide open. I think she's got to cut the angle a little bit more, try to direct traffic toward the goal with anything she gets in terms of a shot. Missed opportunity there for the Illini, but maybe a wake-up call from Minnesota.
Stevens with 2 goals in her sophomore season, 2nd season with Illinois after transferring from Georgia. Pasquale, good step and pass towards Woods, but broken up. Romine loses it to Woods. Ball chipped to the top. Headed back by Verzosa Dolezal. Now Pasquale, a shot and a big save. Nope, it's an offside. I hate when that happens.
I do too. And they at least let it play, but
you know, it ends up being a great save that she won't get credit for.
Exactly.
Because it's offside, but hey, she made the play nonetheless.
I think it was Leah Howard that may have been flagged before the initial pass.
Right.
Refs like to let it play out, but
it takes a moment a lot of times for the referee, obviously, as we know, to recognize the flag is up. I can't tell from our vantage point if our officials have our little headsets on, if they're communicating or not with each other, but it took a few moments. Good touch by Howard. Illinois attacking. Ball into the box, goes off of Woods and Cesaroni. Who got it last? Cesaroni did. It'll be a corner for Illinois.
It's good work by Cesaroni to be right on top of Michaela Woods as that ball came in, because from what we've seen from Michaela Woods this half, she certainly looked primed to get a quality chance on goal. So credit to Cesaroni. She's been a solid defender, key contributor to this Golden Gophers team. She does concede the corner, though.
Coming from Wash U, St. Louis, Division III, where she was a 2-time first-team All-American from St. Charles, Illinois. Left-footed corner coming from Ashley Cathro. He was high up in the air, and Plashko with the fair catch.
Hard one to judge there. Plashko, so sharp in her vision from her box. Reads that one, and in the end has no challengers for who gets on top of that ball.
Would love to rack up a 7th clean sheet this season. It would be the 20th of her career.
I will say you gave me some grief in the first half, Scott, for telling Minnesota fans to pack their bags for East Lansing. It's now 3-1 in Madison in favor of Wisconsin, so barring a three-goal haul from Nebraska.
We're still also assuming that your math and everything is correct. So
That's
why
true.
I put the asterisks up there just in case. Again, all they got to do still is wait another 30 minutes to know for sure.
For all of the ridiculousness, though, it's a pretty straightforward scenario for Minnesota. And barring any errors in my math, which I won't, absolve myself from, looking
this
like
ball
8-seeded Minnesota.
Hanging in the air, Wynn knocking it down. Pasquale steps in front. By the way, Alec is an aerospace engineering major, so I think his math is probably pretty safe.
Appreciate that. Pasquale disappointed that one doesn't come off to be better. Illinois actually had numbers there. Unfortunately, one of the Gophers' numbers was in the way.
Into the 67th minute here, Scott Sudakoff, Alec Gilmore with you. Immersion Park in Champaign on Big Ten Plus, the final day of the Big Ten regular season. Let's call that decision day, I suppose, if you want to take that terminology. And seeding up and down. The 8 that have qualified for sure for the tournament, seeding still to be decided except for the #1 seed, Michigan State. Everything else fluctuating with the results as they're all happening. Obviously, easy decision to have everybody playing at the exact same time, 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central here in Champaign. So you avoid the possibility of a game played earlier in the day and then a game later losing its meaning.
Exactly.
Like to everybody play at the same time.
Well, and not only that, but, famous examples even as recently as the 70s, wherein World Cup games would see teams intentionally not play well just to get a result for both of them to advance, since games within the same group were not being played at the same time.
Right. Ashley Prell can't connect with Cathro, who runs into Franzen. Illinois keeping possession. Woods turning towards the box. Franzen battling with her. This will be a goal kick again, as I hesitate to say goal kick because it ends up being a goal tap.
It has gone behind the goal and play will now be restarted.
Wind has not let up this entire time. So at the very least, both teams getting the fair shake in terms of amount of time facing the wind. Plashko gave it a go there, but didn't work out too well.
I think the little tiny bit of westward wind, it's generally north, that little bit of western ingredient I think may have sent that one out of bounds, if you can even draw it up to that.
Here comes a counter with speed across midfield by Krista Van Loon. Up ahead is Kaya Harper. Sadie Harper trailing the play as well. Batted back out to midfield. Leah Howard going on the run after it for the Illini. Mentioned Gatorade Player of the Year out of New York from Massapequa. Grew up a big Hope Breslin fan, who of course graduated from the Illini last season. Drafted into the NWSL. Hope also from Massapequa.
And there's still a lot of positive opinion around Leah Howard overall. She hasn't seen a ton of minutes. She's pretty much come off the bench anytime she's been deployed. But, like you said, just a freshman, so plenty of opportunity for her to get more experience as an Illini.
Lillian Lucas was trying to get on the other end of that ball inside the box, but Plashko cutting it off. So we are in the 70th minute of action. Both goals in the first half for Minnesota. 20th minute, Sophia Bowman with her 5th of the year. And then the 22nd minute tally. Oh, it is 23rd. I guess we got on the book here, 22nd minute. So 22nd minute officially. Yeah, it was at 21:56 into the half by Harper. Illinois, again, getting a ball to... Right now, getting the ball in the box on that side of the field, it just makes it dangerous just with the way a team can't clear it as they might normally want to.
It's completely unpredictable. And credit to Leah Howard getting a good ball back across and set up another chance. You know, this is a good experience, I think, for Minnesota. You know, they will have the postseason wherever they end up, whoever they end up playing. And so some game management here. They're up 2 goals, and, you know, there's not too much question right now of whether that result will hold. They still look the much more sure of the 2 teams, but you know, right now they've faced some pressure and they've dealt with it for the most part. They still have yet to concede among all of this, you know, meteorological pressure, but also the Illini.
And offside, flag is up. Woods offside. She looks back, doesn't believe the call.
I would have to believe it personally.
As players normally is the case.
I would forgive a player, you know, with the competitive mindset, in the zone, a ton of adrenaline. I would forgive them not being the most logical or unbiased in competition.
Erin Chastain leading Minnesota back to the Big Ten tournament after missing it last season in her first year. It did qualify back in the spring 2021 season, the much different looking Big Ten tournament that year, where Illinois was a regional host, having a terrific season. Overall at 6-4 in the regular season that year, and they split it up between a West and an East regional, and everybody came together after that. Iowa, of course, came out of Illinois, the surprise winner of the regional, and then the surprise winner of the entire tournament, and then a surprise first-round NCAA tournament win back in the wacky season it was in the spring of 2021, just with everything that was involved with it.
Yet another near vertical goal kick.
Minnesota, Plashko lost it. This play will be whistled dead, though, as there was contact with both Howard and Prell. Of course, remember, Minnesota, their game that was played in Champaign, the first game they had scheduled with Nebraska, was called off due to COVID reasons. It was a strange day that day. I remember being here for that, just having to wait basically 3 hours just to see if that game would be played, and then instead of pushing up the Illinois-Iowa game, you just waited for what was the original time, which I think was like a 9 o'clock start. So it was a long, strange day.
Looks like we've just seen Lillian Lucas awarded a yellow card. I think a reckless sliding challenge, potentially some dissent as well, as earned her that booking. I think it was largely due to the challenge.
In the 73rd minute. That was the last season, by the way, for Minnesota. Stephanie Golan as the head coach. She moved on to Missouri, or saw her and the Missouri Tigers here earlier in the year at Illinois, and the Illini knocked off the Tigers 1-0. Chastain, coming from DePaul after 14 seasons there, won a couple of Big East championships, made the NCAA tournament a couple of times.
It's a familiar name, is Chastain, Scott.
Sister-in-law, of course, is Brandy Chastain of U.S. Women's National Team World Cup fame. Kaya Harper in the middle with Sophia Bowman. And now this is Franzen, just trying to cut it through the wind as best as possible. Van Loon taps it for Donovan, and now switch to the other side for the Golden Gophers. Burchell has it for Illinois now, over the halfway line looking for Howard. Howard going to chase after Elizabeth Overberg. And this is a foul, Illinois.
Are you going to give me more grief, Scott, if I tell you that Minnesota should really start packing up for East Lansing now? It's now 4-1 in Madison, so Wisconsin all but certainly will be wrapping up that game and keeping Minnesota seeded 8th, which would put them against the top-seeded Michigan State, who I think is primed to make a NCAA tournament run, seeing if as soon as they complete their campaign in the Big Ten tournament, of course.
For the record, Minnesota did not play Michigan State in the regular season.
So that'll be an interesting matchup, certainly.
Woods. Edge of the box, kept away from Howard, but now Howard steps on the ball in the box, able to get back up, and she drew a foul. And they're calling the penalty for Howard. It looked like I was looking at this now through my binoculars, it looked like Howard herself stepped on the ball as it, oh, okay, nope. So that little angle there as the camera just was panning away, maybe a little too early there. It was tough to tell when she got clipped, but the call was made and Howard has a PK. Let's have to hurry up here before we got to go live for the PK. We'll try to show it afterwards. Let's make sure we don't miss. I
think your surprise is shared by me. I'm not quite sure if that was a penalty-worthy call, but
it's going to be Burchell taking the PK. Remember, Trider had a PK goal not too long ago for Illinois. Burchell against Plashko, with Cathro standing in our way a bit. Going to move the ball a little bit here.
I think the wind is making its presence known once again.
Burchell got it, side netting by the diving Plashko. First goal of the career. Nope, second of the career for Kennedy Burchell. First this year. The other one came back in the spring 2021 season, a PK tally with 15-16 left, and it's 2-1.
It's a well-taken penalty as well. I mean, right into the side netting, as you said. Came straight up to it, knew exactly what she was going to do, was Burchell. That height, not generally what you want for a penalty kick, because that's the most savable height, but she had it in the right position and ultimately out of the reach of Plashko.
So Leah Howard drew the call in the box, maybe questionable, but Illinois takes advantage. There was contact with the defender. From my live vantage point, it looked as if she had stepped on the ball
that's what I thought as well.
That was really what was putting her down to the turf, while she maybe also got a bit of a clip from behind. Simultaneously, we'll say.
So we're seeing some conversation between Burchell and the official. There's been a couple of off-the-ball interactions that have been interesting, certainly on the Illini side. Right after Leah Howard scored her penalty, the Illini a little too eager to get started there. But right after Leah Howard drew that penalty, she celebrated, she was excited, and then she interacted with Michaela Woods, an older player on the team. And I don't know if it was out of enthusiasm or frustration, Michaela Woods shoved Howard back. Just something worth noting.
Into the box quickly, Minnesota trying to get it back. That was a quick opportunity for Minnesota. Doesn't lead to a shot. Yeah, it looked like more just players a bit pumped up, Woods and Howard. And
I have to imagine
Howard
that was
being
probably the case.
The smaller of the two. Almost went
Another
flying.
fair point. Well, I mean, we were talking about it a few minutes ago about Minnesota game managing, you know, playing what's being given to you right now, maybe getting some practice for tournament scenarios. Suddenly, Minnesota's not too comfortable. They've conceded a goal. It's suddenly a one-goal game. Illinois certainly will feel like they're back in it. And now, what do you do if you're Minnesota? Do you accelerate the pace of play? Are you impatient in trying to get chances forward, perhaps sending passes that are ill-advised? Or do you slow things down? Do you calm things down? You see Plashko milking a few seconds extra just to wait to pick up the ball. But now what do? They're a little bit loose in possession now.
Howard had it for the moment. Back for Pasquale. Burchell can't get to it, but as we've been saying all day, these goal kicks aren't the prototypical clearance attempt here. As it's played short.
I mean, it's been characteristic of whichever team has had the wind at their back, but Illinois firmly implanted in the Minnesota half, their attacking half. And like I said, that's been the case for both teams. Whoever's been playing on that side where the wind is blowing toward. You know, they've been more comfortable. That boost really does mean a lot. You can apply that extra pressure on the back line. Minnesota was probably stronger in that, and they've seen some more chances on the other side of the field, but Illinois has grown in confidence. That penalty kick may be what they need to steal a result here after all, something they, of course, would desperately like to see at the end of the season.
Illinois now 3 for 3 on PKs this year. Plaschko stopped the only PK that the Gophers faced this season before that score by Kennedy Burchell. By the way, Leah Howard playing in just her 6th game as a freshman and only played 52 minutes on the year. Earned the foul in the box, leading to the PK. I always feel like you should get an assist in the stat sheet for that. Or some true denotation in the stat sheet of earning a PK that led to a goal.
Yeah, if the wind has told us anything, it's that stats don't tell the full story.
That as well. Nice ball from Howard to Stevens, and now Stevens trying to follow it up. Minnesota struck twice in the first half, 20th minute, 22nd minute. Bowman and Sadie Harper. Illinois here in the 75th minute on the PK by Burchell. Pasquale will take the throw for Illinois. Karam's into the box, and good awareness. Overberg letting that ball be played by Plaschko. Minnesota playing some of its best soccer down the stretch here. Unbeaten in their last 4, 3 wins and a draw. That was coming off of a 3-match losing streak to the likes of Northwestern, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So still looks as if they're in a good position to take a point out of this. So it would mean, of course, unbeaten in their final 5 heading towards the tournament, as that shot is off target along the grass by Sydney Stevens. And Illinois will make a change here before play resumes, as Zoe Kohlhoff will come on. Junior from St. Charles, Illinois, will appear for the 5th time this year. Less than 10 to go. Scott Sudikoff, Alec Gordon. Alec Gilmore.
You're forgiven.
I don't know who's Alec Gordon. That sounds like somebody, doesn't it? I was thinking Alex Gordon.
Potentially.
Alec Gilmore.
Heard Alec Baldwin, Alec Guinness. Gordon's a new one.
I wouldn't confuse you with Alec Baldwin.
I will appreciate
Maybe
that.
Stephen Baldwin, but Van Loon into the corner for Minnesota. Here comes a cross from Dressley. Some trouble and cleared out. Offside.
Yeah, it was a nice idea, but Woods was.
We had a good vantage point on that one.
No, I don't think there's too many people in America that would disagree. Woods has been a bright spot in this Illinois attack. She's been a spark for this team in terms of getting some intensity, some urgency into the side. Accelerates, passes a little bit more. And you can see here, frustrated with the ball not being played. That time, though,
referee stopped the clock before that ball was kicked, so he didn't like that Minnesota was taking too much time there, it appears. So now the referee, I think, is going to go over to the table there to have them radio up to here to possibly put some time back on the clock. Yep, they're going to add 8 seconds as I can hear them through the window.
What can happen in 8 seconds?
Enough to score a goal. So 8:55 on the clock. I will allow you. I have enough trust in you that if we know some basically official matchups next Sunday, you can let us know.
Yeah, so as of right now, it's Minnesota against Michigan State.
And that would be the 8 versus 1.
That would be the 8 versus 1. Continuing the as of right now track, it is actually Penn State that has now taken the 7th seed.
Not so much taken, but dropped.
Yeah, they've dropped. They were up to the 3rd seed earlier, but Iowa scoring against Penn State means the Nittany Lions
and I'm guessing
down.
all the games left have about 10 minutes.
Correct. Yeah, they're all pretty much
same
synchronized.
Spot that we're in right now.
Give or take about 10 minutes or so. Rutgers, Michigan State will be the last one to finish. That one's still scoreless.
It looks like we got Michigan State, Minnesota.
Michigan State, Minnesota.
And then
Northwestern second seed,
Penn
will be
State
hosting
is
Penn
what you were
State.
saying. What it might look like. That's interesting.
And then Wisconsin benefits not only from winning, but also Penn State dropping. Wisconsin is now the 3rd seed, playing 6th seed. Yeah, it's nuts, just by their point total. So, just using the first tiebreaker, Michigan State with 26 points, Northwestern with 22. Wisconsin right now has 19 because they are winning against Nebraska. Rutgers, because they are drawing against Michigan State, would go from 17 to 18 points. So that puts Rutgers in 4th. Ohio State losing to Northwestern puts them at 5th. And Nebraska is currently losing to Wisconsin. So what that would mean is we see a rematch of Wisconsin and Nebraska. And then Rutgers takes on Ohio State for the 4th, 5th game. We'll get confirmed matchups, of course, but
within the half hour, probably.
Yes.
I'd say. Woods crosses it, and it got batted out. That was actually off the Illini player flying through Kohlhoff. That it got knocked back. Now served back in. Loose ball at the top of the box. Minnesota is there to clear it out towards midfield. Not quite. Tratterer serves it back in, headed by Kohlhoff, and Plashko to the post.
Well read by Kohlhoff. She had eyes on that one the entire time, even though there wasn't a ton of pace on that ball, not just with the wind pushing it, but also that can put some spin on the ball. It was well read by Plashko to get down to it and in the end make a relatively comfortable save. But yeah, just to clear up the noise and looking at scores right now, matchups: Michigan State, Minnesota, Northwestern, Penn State, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Rutgers, Ohio State.
And Rutgers would host Ohio State.
Correct.
The first teams you said all would be the host teams. And that ball loose in the 6 after Plashko came out to challenge. And now that goes out for a throw. Plashko is up on her feet, and obviously you're Minnesota. You do not want to see your keeper down on the turf for too long. She's played every moment this season for the Gophers in goal.
Walking just a little bit gingerly for a moment, but after a quick word with the official, Plashko looks like she will carry on for the final 5.5 minutes.
Throw in from Stevens. And Plashko heads up there. You know, a lot of times a keeper might let that go, take the goal kick, but in this case, knowing that probably has a better chance to get some air on it on a punt like this. Well, still further down the field than what we've seen on the goal kicks, of course.
We promise there's no net in the air.
Kohlhoff causing problems for Gabby Cesaroni, who usually the one causing problems on the other side of the field offensively for teams. Less than 5 minutes to go. Change it for Minnesota before the goal kick.
Just looking throughout the field, I checked. It's now been 28 miles an hour is the official high mark for wind, and there's the wind pushing it, shoving it really out of bounds. And lots of debris has blown onto the field. You know, they keep these well mowed and cleaned up before games, and just a lot of leaves and other debris.
What's the design of the mowing today? Radial?
Radial is indeed the correct, accurate term here.
I call it. I just called it, circular, and it looks like a target with the Illinois eye in the middle as the bullseye. Woods will win a corner kick for Illinois. Coming up on 4 minutes to play in the season finale for Illinois, the regular season finale for Minnesota, as we've just been talking about, all but secured the fact that Minnesota will be playing at Michigan State in the 8-versus-1 game in the Big Ten tournament next Sunday. Here comes the corner. Can Illinois tie it up here in the waning minutes? Had a chance.
That was the service to do it right there. That was a great corner kick by Burchell. I mean, that was beautifully across the net inside the 6-yard box, exactly where you want it. It just needed the final touch, and nobody was quite ready to commit to getting a shot on goal, just throwing something at the ball. I think they're going to be let down, are the Illini, that they did not score off of that corner.
Illinois 7-7-3, 2-5-2 in Big Ten play.
The crowd is displeased with Romine and Cathro in a bit of a tangle off the ball.
Gray and Beisman go back and forth with it, and then that put Gray offside on the return pass from Beisman.
Yeah, some further conversation with the official. Cathro is not pleased. I'm not 100% sure what happened. It looks like a yellow card has been awarded to both players for their dissent. So that's an interesting outcome there. Romine getting the caution. I'd have to dust up on my knowledge of yellow cards and how they carry over, but
into postseason.
Exactly. I don't know if that's something that Romine really wants to involve herself with.
I don't think anybody really on Minnesota has to be too worried looking at their card numbers on the season.
Just not the greatest way to settle things down, and you can see Verzosa Dalazal, her national compatriot and of course collegiate teammate there, just trying to cool off Cathro a little bit.
Both from British Columbia.
Offsides looks like
Yeah, now this game's just getting a little bit chippier. You can see the students right behind the players on your screen there, that they're on their feet, they're getting vocal, which is of course what you want to see in these last few moments.
Clock stopped at 2:44.
At least it is here in the stadium.
Played ahead, Woods. Holds up a bit. Good spin on the ball. Takes the shot and a terrific finish by Michaela Woods for her 3rd goal of the year.
Well, that's one of the goals of the season for the Illini right there. What a touch this is from Woods. Completely takes out her defender, and a beautiful strike over the reach of Plashko. I mean, that is phenomenal stuff by Michaela Woods.
I don't know if you could catch, but you could see Leah Howard. She had her hands up to her face, almost in a kind of an incredulous look on that finish by Michaela Woods. 3rd of the year, 3rd of her career, the junior from Monroe, Ohio. And Illinois is tied it with 2:22 left.
Well, you know, maybe a win is not out of the equation just yet. And there's Minnesota. They led this game 2-0, but now giving up that lead, that's going to sit in the back of their minds, I have to imagine.
Oh, I'd say that's a nominee for a certain television network's top 10 list of plays. Minnesota now trying to hunt for the possible game-winning goal. Now tied at 2.
I'm going to say it once again, Scott. I think Minnesota should prepare their trip to East Lansing.
Beisman at the edge of the box. She'll cross it, and Chile will cut it off. As on the other side was Gray waiting if that ball got over the top. Now Woods, you can tell she's feeling it. Look at that speed.
Look at the speed of the ball as well.
And now a goal kick for Minnesota. A chance for Illinois to put the pressure up into the box here. Just a minute 20 left. Try to create a turnover and see if they can steal a victory on the final day of the season. Plashko, though, able to get it up the field a bit. Almost tipped on for Howard. Knocked down Koloff. Howard. Koloff sliding in. Ball free. Shot. Oh, that may have been headed towards the side netting on the far post, but the Gopher defender was able to block it. That was Franzen. It's tough to tell from our live angle up here in the booth if that was headed wide or not, but for a moment, it looked as if Illinois may have had an opportunity to, in fact, steal a third goal.
Yeah, what a chaotic ending this has turned out to be, and it's unfortunate. Michaela Woods, I think, just rushes her decision there. She had plenty of time on the ball. She was able to settle it down, but her body was not opened up in the right direction, and her trying to turn and shoot it sent it well off target. So, barring a miracle, I think it's probably going to finish.
15 seconds. Illinois obviously got nothing to lose here. They're going to go all out right now. Pasquale knocks it towards Woods. Pasquale has it blocked high in the air and heading out of play. Illinois, though, spirited second half. And they're going to get an ovation from their home crowd here for the effort in the second half. A PK tally by Burchell. And then in the 88th minute, one of the prettiest goals you'll see this